Welcome back to the AI Accelerator Podcast, where we cut through the hype and get into how AI is actually being used in the real world with real companies and real leaders. Today's guest is Andrew Metz. Andrew's a sales executive, speaker, and leadership expert with more than 17 years of experience building high-performing sales teams and developing hundreds of sales professionals and leaders along the way. He's led organizations through leadership transitions, private equity ownership changes, and constantly shifting market conditions, as we're all seeing every day. So when he talks about leading through change, he's not about the theory, he has actually lived it. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate
it. Andrew, you spent 17 years working your way up from entry level lead generation up into leading entire sales organizations. Before we get into AI, what's one leadership lesson from that climb that still holds true today for you?
To me, I think about being highly competent in my current role. So as I get elevated, I can be helpful for that the individual contributor or the leader that I'm coaching or leading next. So I was really fortunate to climb through a single organization and have 7 different roles, and feel really confident that I was a top performer at that role. And the lasting legacy was try to develop and grow other leaders, other individual contributors to have a fulfilling career as well.
That's fantastic. You're clearly meant to be a leader because you focus on the people. It's not just about you and your success, but you've been driving and leading organizations. So it seems like a natural progression for you, for someone who's driven the way you are.
Well, when you spend the first 2 years at a company and you spend almost 18 years at just cold calling, you have a different level of appreciation for what the people do. I think it would be really different if I came in as some high-level executive and didn't quite know what it was like to change the oils and rotate the tires at the shop, so to speak. So there's a level of admiration, appreciation. I have 4 children. I tell my kids all the time, there's people working hard right now that's benefiting us, and living through a gratitude lens makes it really easy to appreciate what all the hard work that people are doing to help accomplish a bigger goal and move the needle on a sales organization.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's great. Let's talk about, you collaborate with Daniel Burrus with the Anticipatory Organization Network. I don't know a lot about that. And for our listeners who haven't encountered it, what does the anticipatory mean in that? Can you explain a little bit about that organization and what that's like and how it supports your mission?
Yeah, Daniel Burrus and I have been friends, and he's been a mentor of mine for 25 years. I was a case study in his New York Times bestselling book called Flash Foresight, and recently has come out with Anticipatory Organization, which allows organizations to prepare for the future. We have some principles that we speak to, specifically around hard trends and soft trends. Hard trends are known facts that are going to occur. It's summer now, it'll be fall next. Soft trends are possible things that could happen, and it allows organizations to plan for the future. And there's no better time to talk about the future when we're in the most uncertain time ever with AI. The internet, we can all look back and go, oh yeah, that was transformational, but it took a long time to go from dial-up internet to streaming YouTube in your hand. It took 20 years to do that. The difference is AI is going to be as disruptive, if not more, but it's on an exponential growth curve. So the thing that I'm really interested in as a leader, speaker, consultant, and a practitioner is leading through change management. And I see it in organizations I speak to, my own organization, of how scary that is. Uncertainty, what does this mean? Am I going to lose my job? It rocks people to their core. I have a family to take care of, and trying to embrace the change, not stick our head in the sand and ignore it, and not get too caught up in the actual technology. But I think a lot about human adoption, change management. How could this be a leverage tool to something greater, as opposed to just something scary? Which I think it's exciting for people, but it's also creates some anxiety as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I want to drill into that a little bit. I'm very passionate about the exact same topic. I came through a very different background to get here from you, but we're both passionate about supporting people through change, leading through change in organizations, and how that's done. So for the leaders listening, business leaders, C-suite executives, etc., other sales leaders out there who are listening to this podcast, what advice do you have for them to help their organizations lead through change? Like you said, there's a lot of fear, there's excitement, there's a lot of change happening. Like the pressure cooker of change is at an exponential level at this point, and most people are not comfortable with change. People have families to support, kids to support, things like that. So like, am I going to keep my job? Am I not? What are like, I don't know, 2 or 3 different tips you have for leaders who are really responsible for creating the culture and transforming the culture in their organizations related to this whole concept of change management for their people?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I think about is lead by example, jump in the pool. No one knows AI. If you knew it 3 months ago, it's the mark's already moved. So just jump in the pool and get after it. I've talked to a few that are like on the sidelines looking or feel intimidated that they don't know it. Look, I kind of do this. This is new in the last couple of years for everyone. So use AI as much as you can personally. I have personal AI accounts. I have work corporate AI accounts. We sell AI and I speak to AI. And I don't think I'm an expert or a guru. I was on stage at a lumber company in Detroit last month, and I said, I'm not here to give you all the answers of how AI works, because if I did, it would change 3 months from now. So there's a little humility just to go, I don't really know it. You don't really know it. No one was born knowing all this stuff. We just got to get in and use it. And that does build confidence to kind of connect the dots in your own brain. So, okay, this is interesting. The second thing I would say is focus on what human interaction make you, your team special with your client base anyway. So if it takes you 5 minutes or 5 hours to create a proposal, your clients don't really care. They just value the interaction they have with you. And when you start thinking of it that way, now you think of AI as it's a leveraging tool to take away administrative tasks, create more efficiency. So I can do more human to human interaction that I think is going to have an extreme premium on as we move forward. I've been speaking a lot about trust and how that interacts with a human to human. Everyone's going to be a little more skeptical. Like, is this phone call? Is this an AI robot? Is this a real thing? Is this a scam? These are things we didn't think about 10 years from now. But when you sit down and have coffee with someone and look them in the eyes, there's actual chemicals in our human bodies that allow us to connect a little bit. So I think as a right brain person myself, I love that I can outsource all the analytics and stuff. So I can go have really powerful human interactions. And if I don't need to spend the whole weekend putting together the PowerPoint because AI can do it for me, then I want to be the guy that presents PowerPoint, has the tough conversations, has the empathetic conversations with my team, and not spend time doing administrative tasks. That's kind of how I delineate the difference between how do we use these things every day and how does this take over my job? We'll start leaning into what makes you special, but yeah, you're still going to have to figure this out because the pace of business is only going to accelerate.
Yeah, that's a great response, Andrew. Love that. So many practical tips in there, and hopefully it's well heard. That the first piece you mentioned about freedom to experiment and just leaning into the experimentation of it, leading by example, very, very important. And a lot of business leaders are not doing that naturally, maybe because they're not technical, they're not confident, whatever. But what you just shared is great advice. So just put that out there for the people. You recently wrote, I want to shift topic. You recently wrote about, on LinkedIn, I believe is where I saw it, but about highest performing revenue teams not being the ones that react faster, but the ones that anticipate earlier. We talked about the anticipatory organization, right? And you had said they see the pipeline risk before the forecast shows it, right? They're anticipating what's coming. How does AI factor into a sales leader's ability to anticipate versus react?
Well, it's, if you think about your key performance indicators of, I think we think in sales always, do we have a 3X pipeline? Do we have it for the current quarter? Do we have it for the next quarter? That's one small example, but there's a ton of look around corners that I've used AI in my own day-to-day role. Some of that is at scale. If I have 57 sales reps, it's hard to sit through every single sales call. But as these calls are being recorded, I can start looking at swaths of sellers and say, what's the biggest skill set gap that this team needs to work on here? And through AI, we can analyze that. I've done more proactive coaching in 6 months than I've done in the last 15 years of leadership, because I've been able to look at scale. And then back to the human interaction. When I'm going in and I'm coaching and I'm trying to give, if I have 5 different sales teams, if there's a team of 7 and I know they don't do great discovery, I can spend all my student of the game learning on simply, let's talk about discovery questions. And if some are weaker on negotiating or closing, we can focus on that. So as opposed to me guessing or having some recency bias, like I was on a call last week and I heard this, I can look at the calls for the last 90 days, 100 days. Everything's transcribed nowadays, right? There's trends you can pick up on. So back to the left brain thing, AI is really, I heard this thing, I don't know who to quote for this, but the Industrial Revolution eliminated the muscle. And someone said AI will eliminate some of the brain power. And I would take it one step further and say, I think it's eliminating some of the left brain power, which is all processing, finding trends, big strategic, huge data sets. That's what AI is, right? It's machine learning on large data sets, so that we can be better with our right brain, which is connecting with humans, having empathy, listening to people, feeling like there's a real human connection. So if I can come to those meetings knowing exactly where the soft spot is in their approach, I can have high impact coaching on a human level, but I didn't spend 500 hours watching demonstrations or sales pitches for my team. So again, that's the leverage and the scale. There's a big lever to be pulled here so that we can make really high impact human to human connections.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, really cool. I love the way that because it's part science, part art. That's how I sort of view it. But like you're saying, part right brain, part left brain. And the AI definitely helps a lot more with the left brain side. I like the way you characterize that, Andrew. Very cool. Because that makes sense. Because we all have. One thing I've seen is I think there's people say, well, AI is going to take our jobs, or it's going to eliminate the need for me to do my job. But in reality, it's not true. It's the person, like you're saying, the right brain plus the left brain coming together. You can start leveraging AI for more of the left brain stuff and get more and get more done and do more data analysis, as you're saying. But the reality is, you want to free yourself up to be able to do more right brain stuff, more creative, more anticipatory organization work, right, for your sales team.
That's it.
So I like that a lot. I want to talk about a little bit more about sales leaders and what they're doing with AI tools today and what you've seen out there in the industry. I know sales, when AI tools come into especially non-technical professionals, a lot of times it's like pushed down, like, some sales professionals are technical, some are non-technical. That's true across every role. But I say non-technical on purpose because when a tool is a technology tool and it's pushed down from the top of an organization and they're just saying everybody needs to use it, and there's no real change management or assistance or hand-holding in that, sometimes that can be counterproductive, right? Because it's like, well, I don't know what to do with this tool, ChatGPT or whatever, this tool, whatever. So what is the first 90 days of tool adoption or using these AI techniques and strategies you're talking about when it's done right? Like, what does that look like in an organization? Like when your organization first started bringing some of this in?
Yeah, I think one of the things I think about AI is it's created the capacity for non-technical people to be more technical. Because really what it comes down to is I don't understand coding. I don't really understand revenue operational dashboards and things that we used to have specialists for. But what an open AI system like an MCP, where I can just tap into all my my Salesforce data, and all my meetings are recorded through Gong, and I can start tapping in. Now it becomes about the prompt. And so back to the right brain, creative. What kind of things would make my life easier? What administrative tasks do I get heartburn on? What kind of pinch points do I have that get bottlenecked? What kind of coaching could I do better? What message does my team need to hear? What should the content of my Monday morning meeting be like based upon what's happening in the field in the last 2 weeks? So again, I'm thinking big picture, and I'm using prompts to get me to where I need to go. I've done more like dashboard product creation than I have in my whole life in the last 6 months, back to I don't consider myself a technical person. I sell and work in the tech space, but definitely more on the sales side, not on the coding side. And so again, I think some of it is experimental. You're not going to break stuff, get into it. And especially on these open AI platforms where you're tapping into MCPs, where it's basically better prompts give you better answers, better products, and refining prompts. I think people are kind of too generic at times. If there's a sales leader that I really like, a LinkedIn personality or someone that's written a bunch of books, I'll say, if this individual was running these 6 sellers based upon their last 90 demos, what kind of coaching would they give? And that's really kind of just theater of the mind. I can think way outside the box. I have capabilities and superpowers that I didn't have before so that I could be more effective. So dreaming a little bit, being creative, and then just continue to refine. This is kind of why I always say, like, don't be, I get to think of people in my world that are kind of, I don't really know how it works. It's like, jump in and start figuring it out, play around with it. And it's okay if it's clunky at first. Continue to refine and get better and practice like anything else.
Yeah, and so I want to lean into that a little bit more, Andrew, and bring it down to sort of because your mindset is exactly where is the healthy way to approach AI, right? Or any type of change, and it makes a lot of sense. What you just shared with your strategies, I think, make a lot of sense. How does that apply? So you as a leader, organization is going to start adopting this. They can see you, as you mentioned, lead by example. That's great. What's the practical side of rolling that out into the organization? Like, people have fears, all these different things around it. So are you like, for your organization, or it could be just in general from what you've learned, what do you think is an effective way to bring this change, this opportunity into organizations? So are you doing like little workshops with your teams? Do you have like your Monday morning meeting, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI techniques so we can all experiment a little bit this week? How do you, I'm just curious about the human adoption side of this. Like what do you think works well?
Yeah, I've seen some organizations don't have a defined stance of whether you can or can't use it, and you get into proprietary data and security, and that's a bunch of, like, this is where I go, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a doctor, like, you need to kind of, because there's a whole IT side of this. And I've been a part of organizations that didn't have a firm stance, then got a really firm stance and said, here's the corporate tools you're allowed to use. Microsoft Copilots, load down everyone's machine, go nuts with it. I think once you get that green light, it's not like encouraged to get in. It's like, we make it mandatory that you go in and start using this. So again, this is change management 101, which is, it's scary because there's a human psychology of change management that freaks everyone out that we've talked about a little bit. The not encourage, but demand that you get in and use it is part of it. But then the sharing of best practices, let me show you some ideas on how to use it, let's all jump in for an hour and start trying to be non-technical people doing technical things. Let's try to code this up. What happens when you do this? That's where people start to build confidence, is when they get a little bit of traction points. So I would say the early adopters and the champions sharing best practices will plant some seeds and ignite some sparks. But it's just like riding a bike or anything else. Like, people got to get on the bike and start hitting the pedals in order to make it happen. And, the hardest part is just the inertia of getting them off the mark. So that can be done in we're going to do a hands-on workshop, and I'm going to show you a prompt, and you put your own creative spin on it. And once people start getting some of the responses, I think their eyes light up. But that's when the creativity and the theater of the mind happens. So again, like, this is just like any change management. I think this is different, though. This is different than, we got a new CRM system and you got to learn how to use it. This feels, the news is talking about it. Every podcast is talking about it. People are talking about, Salesforce let off, 21,000 people so far this year. People get freaked out about it. And I think, again, it is a time of uncertainty, but our best chance to leverage this and use this in tandem with our personal skills are getting in the sandbox and starting to put, dig some holes and create a sandcastle and see what it's all about. It's certainly a much more effective strategy than simply ignoring it.
Yeah, very true. No, that's well said. So you do a lot of collaboration, leader with the teams, and sharing best practices. Great way to do it. What's on the flip side? What's one of the biggest mistakes that you think or that you've seen leaders make when they're trying to roll out AI or any type of new technology to their teams?
Well, I think acknowledging that it's new and uncertain, talking about uncertainty, I think that gives everyone the permission to feel the way they feel. I think a lot of leaders and individual contributors are secretly scared and spooked of what this all means. And I think just having that conversation and go, this is new to me too, and I'm trying to figure it out as well. Back to the lead by example. I think the other thing is just not understanding it, thinking it's like a Google search, not capable, taking full advantage of its capabilities, might not resonate what the full benefit is. So trying to not only get in and use it, but find wins, or this saved me time, this enhanced my presentation, this gave me a new coaching tip, this helped me look around an angle. When people get to that, now the incentive is connected to their motivation to continue to learn. So it's not just like, hey, just get in for an hour. It's making sure you get a win so that some of these habits will stick. And then thinking about, what do you do every week? What do you do in preparation for a meeting? What do you do in preparation for a quarterly business review? Thinking about applications in the future to encourage them to use it moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about your some of your private equity experience, Andrew, because you got a lot of cool background there, and private equity factors in the corporate world. It changes dynamics a lot of times for companies as companies are acquired and they're bought, sold, etc. You've navigated multiple private equity ownership changes, leadership transitions, right? So we're talking about people, right? So and this can often change the trust in an organization, change the culture of an organization if it's not managed well. What's some of your advice that you have for leaders that are navigating that? Maybe they're on the private equity side, maybe they're on the existing company side. But what are some advice you have out there for leaders that are navigating a change with ownership and how to keep the goodness of their culture intact?
Yeah, honesty. These are general things that our mothers and grade school teachers told us a long time ago. Honesty, transparency. I think when I can give people information that maybe doesn't sound like I'm sugarcoating it or I'm being really honest, is actually how you build trust. People don't want to hear what they want to hear. They want to hear the truth. And I think helping people understand where the big picture is or why we're doing what we're doing gets more buy-in. So when I see people check out, it's when they don't trust someone. When I see people check out, it's when they don't understand why we're doing what we're doing, or they don't believe in the mission. Like, hey, they're asking me to dig ditches here, but it doesn't really make sense to the big picture. And I think being a liaison between what the board wants and an executive team's driving and what they're willing to share down to the field and bridging the gap of helping them understand to gain buy-in and build trust. And building trust is a lot more than just being honest and transparent. It's also leading by example. It's showing up every day with consistency. It's following through on what I said I was going to do, so that people can buy in and trust you moving forward. So, it doesn't come more simply than these practical things, but to me, it's a high dose of empathy to go, if I was this individual and I was here for 2 years and they were asking me to do this, would I raise an eyebrow to that, or would I understand? And if I don't quite know, what is appropriate for me to share to gain that buy-in? It's as simple as that. It just takes a lot of work. It takes honest conversations. It takes listening to people, and that's what people don't really have patience for. So I think I've kind of maybe threaded the needle of being extremely patient and long-term looking in a short-term, non-patient environment, because private equity is here to go make a profit, and I can appreciate that. I spent a long time in the same organization with 3 private equity partners and had a ton of consistency in my sales organization throughout that, and that only happens when you slow down, listen to people, and connect on a human level.
That's very cool. Very cool. So let's layer AI into that as we're wrapping up here. So listening, such an important skill for sales. As you said, there's a balance between the patience and the need to drive results right now. In your opinion, can AI help make salespeople better listeners, or does it risk making them worse? How do you sort of thread the needle on that one?
That's a great question. I mean, I think of AI could be a tool, almost like a tutor, and help me get better. And it could also make me lazy and cut corners to go, I didn't even read the questions for the RFP. I just spit out an answer and I didn't even review it. So there's always this human touch. There's always this, hey, it might spit out the first draft and it's 80% done, but you need to refine it. You need to put your fingerprint on it. You needs to be, if you're putting your name on it and stamping it, that you should feel confident in that. Back to the listening thing, though, again, I still think there's this scale component to go. Like I'll give you an example. We do eNPS score. So if I have 70 sellers or 65 sellers or whatever, and we do an NPS score, I'm getting AI surface themes on my team. So I might not read through every single review, but it's like 33% of your team's concerned about the comp plan moving forward, and 74% are concerned about how the territory is being managed. So back to the scale and the leverage, this allows me to make bigger impact faster than maybe trying to have individual conversations with 70 people. Back to my left brain thing, which is in my strong suit, finding the trends, identifying strategic, big picture. And now I get to go be a really impactful human leader that listens and make an impact faster based upon all the big data sets and some of the summaries that can be done with it.
Yeah, well said. Well said, Andrew. As we're wrapping up, what's the best way for our audience, our listeners, to contact you, to reach out to you, your organization, if they want to learn more about you, what you're doing?
Yeah, burstresearch.com is where you can find me. I'm doing keynotes on AI along with Daniel Burrus, New York Times bestselling author, and LinkedIn's the best place to find me, just Andrew Metz. I'm fairly active on that, both in content, interacting with current, past, former salespeople, and mentors and mentees, and definitely very active on the LinkedIn platform. Would love to engage in any conversation, either to help your organization or just have a one-on-one conversation.
That's great. We'll include those in the show notes below for people who are on LinkedIn or on YouTube taking a look at this. Andrew, really appreciate your time, your insights, all the strategies, everything you shared. A lot of good ways. Hopefully people paid attention to it. If not, listen to it again on the replay to really get a lot of the insights that you shared, because it's a lot of important nuance to the way that change is managed in an organization, including sales organizations. So appreciate you for being here, Andrew. Thank you so much. And for those listening, until next time, keep building, keep learning, keep accelerating. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, man.